Hi guys, it's Matt here from accordingtomatt.blogspot.com. So, you've got your hook, you've got your yarn, you're now ready to start crocheting. So, the first thing we need to do when we start crocheting is make a slip knot. Okay, I've got a separate video showing you how to make a slip knot. So just click on the link for that if you're not sure. We then need to figure out how we're going to hold our yarn and how we're going to hold our hook. Now, I have to say, speaking from experience, this was extremely tricky in the beginning for me. It took me a lot of practice, and I was very frustrated. It took me a lot of evenings of freaking out on the sofa and throwing little tantrums because I could not figure out how to keep tension to the yarn and get some consistency to my stitches. Now, I am a bit of a perfectionist, so when I ended up with sloppy stitches, some really tight, some really loose, that frustrated me endlessly. So, like I said, it is frustrating in the beginning, and it is hard in the beginning, but just persevere with it, keep practicing, and you will find a strong technique and a way that works for you. I do encourage you to play around because different people hold their hook and tension their yarn in different ways, and there is no right and there is no wrong way. All I can show you here is how I like to do it, how I feel comfortable doing it. But like I said, there is no right or wrong way. At the end of the day, if you produce the crochet work that you're happy with, then you found the right way. I do encourage you though to work on your technique, because in the long run, having a strong technique will mean you're faster, your work is more consistent and neater, and in general you'll just be happier with your crochet projects and happier with your whole crochet feeling. So have a play around, but also practice. So come a little closer and I'll show you how I like to hold tension to the yarn and also how I hold my hook. So now that we've got our hook sorted, we know which kind of hook we're using and which size hook we're using, we need to look at how we're going to be holding it. Now, there are a couple of different ways of holding the crochet hook, ranging from holding it as if you would hold a pen when writing, or gripping it with all 4 fingers and just supporting the grip of the thumb. I hold mine similar to that, but I just use the bottom 3 fingers and the index finger I place on top. This is actually how I like to hold a knife when using a knife and fork. So this grip for me, I place the hook on the bottom 3 fingers of my right hand, and I'm gripping it with those 3 fingers, using the thumb to secure that grip, and the index finger just rests on top. So that's my hook. The hook position here actually needs to be facing down and towards your work. You don't want the hook facing off in that direction. So the position of the hook needs to be this way, actually facing towards you, okay, as opposed to away from you. So that's how I hold the hook, as if I hold a knife when using a knife and fork. So that's easy, that's simple. It does get a little bit trickier though when we get the yarn involved. Okay, so I'm gonna make a slip knot. If you're not sure how to do this, I have a separate video explaining. And I'm gonna secure the yarn onto my hook. Now, let's take a quick look at my left hand. My left hand is the hand that I use to tension the yarn. Now, as I've already mentioned, there are many different ways of tensioning your yarn, and many different ways work for different people. There is no right, there is no wrong. All I can advise you on is the way that I like to hold my yarn and tension my yarn. Now, my way may seem a little bit long-winded, but it really works for me. What I like to do is have the yarn running over the top of my pinky finger, underneath the next finger, over my middle finger, and around and over the top of my index finger. Okay? Just show you that one more time. Over the pinky, under the next, over my middle finger, and up and around the index finger. What this means is that my middle finger here and my thumb are still available to actually pinch my work. So they work as my pincher fingers. So they're available there. it also means that my index finger here is available to move. Now this is important because you'll notice as my index finger moves, I create tension to the yarn, or I can create some slack to the yarn. Notice how as it's moving, it's taut or it's slack. Now this is great because as we start creating stitches, I'll just make some chains here, chain stitches. We don't want all this slack going on, otherwise we can't do anything. We need a little bit of tension there so that it's easier to manipulate the yarn and create the stitches. What it does mean with this grip though is you need to of course have the yarn running through the fingers, but you don't want to be gripping too tight because the yarn still needs to be able to move through the fingers. If you grip too tight, if you grip too tight, you're not going to be able to go anywhere, okay? So nice, relaxed kind of grip there with the fingers. Nothing too crunched, really relaxed. This will really take some playing around, especially this little movement of the index finger. This was a little bit tricky for me in the beginning. And like I said, it really took some practice. But please, please, please persevere with it because you will get the hang of it. Let's just make a few more chain stitches. You'll notice as I make some chain stitches here, I then adjust the grip of my middle finger and my thumb to hold higher up my work, so higher and closer to the hook. This is also a way of manipulating the stitches because you can then pull against the hook so that your hook will slide easier through the stitches. So that's how I hold my yarn in my left hand and my hook in the right. Just notice as I'm working, the index finger here on my right hand is also available, so I can use that. If, for example, I'm going to crochet into one of these chains, I can actually hold the loop that's on my hook back and out of the way until I've actually crocheted into that first stitch. And you know, if you get stuck, and you can actually pull the stitches apart with that index finger. So you can use that. That doesn't need to be stuck onto the hook. That can be available to use just as the index finger on the left hand works and is available to be used. So I hope that helps in terms of tensioning your yarn and holding your hook. It is tricky, and please persevere. Do you know what? You may find an easier way, a more simple way that works better for you, but that's how I like to do it. And it works as an extremely efficient way for me to work fast with my crochet work and create even, consistent stitches, because at the end of the day, the tension is what's going to create consistency to your work. So I hope that helps you. Keep practicing and let me know how you get on.